That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D, Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the general.
And we are your host of Street Politicians,
the place where the streets and politics meet.
I'm celebrating my birthday. I'm just celebrating every day. I've been out every day. I'm actually very tired.
Yeah, you in these streets, out here in these streets.
As you know that I do not stay outside past a certain time or past a certain amount of days doing no social stuff like work every day I could go. But this here two-step, from the what you call it, to the left, to the right, can't do it but so much.
It ain't gonna work no more.
I'm getting older. Let me just say, I can feel it. Like I'm really tired. Like I be falling asleep in the middle of conversations. It's pretty bad. Like it's actually not healthy. Like I don't know. I need a rest. So I'm gonna rest soon. But until then,
the soccer dad mode is a lot for me, man. These kids in their soccer, like, ooh, they got games that start 7 to 8 in the morning, and you don't get back until like 8. This weekend it was crazy. Both of them had a bunch of games, and then Cameron had a game, and then Keston had a game on Sunday. Then we went to the carnival all day, and they want you to run around and move around. And my body was just like, this ain't gonna work, baby. I hear you. We went to see Transformers. Like we had a whole weekend. You know, it was the guys. Me and my guys, we had a dope weekend, and you know, it was a lot going on. But yesterday, you know, it broke me down. It broke me down like a shotgun, man.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good breakdown when you just get a chance to be with your family, and kids keep you young. You know, because I tell you, when I am handling my granddaughter, you can't be slow. Like you gotta be catching things, grabbing, so it keeps you young. Hence the reason why I have to get my rest. Because
I usually get me a nap.
Yeah, I haven't been having naps, and I need one. Actually, I took a nap so the Tonys happened last night, and you know that the play that I invested in along with Candy Burris and my good girlfriend Lushawn Thompson and our friend Lushawn, we made it all the way to being nominated for a Tony, but we didn't win. And so last night there was celebration, dinner and parties and whatever, because the mere fact that we made it all the way to the nomination is a big thing. Another Black play won in the category. So at the end of the day, I feel like a win for Black people is always a win for all of us. Of course, we wanted to win, but still Black people did win in the category. So that's good. But in between the dinner and the other stuff, everything that was going on, I went to sleep because I needed a break I didn't even see the part of the Tonys when we didn't win, because I was just waking up to try to get to the event. Like it's bad. It's bad. It's pretty bad. A good thing that did happen over this weekend as well is that the Randy Cox matter settled in Connecticut. So if people who are who follow us know that Until Freedom was one of the organizations on the ground in Connecticut at the very beginning when Randy Cox was paralyzed by police, where they gave him a rough ride. And shout out to our brother, Scott X. Esdale, who is the state conference leader in Connecticut of the NAACP, but he's also one of the national board members of the NAACP, and he's over the social justice work nationally for the NAACP. And so he called us immediately upon what happened to Randy Cox. He also got Attorney Ben Crump to take on the case. They have been, in addition to working on getting charges for the police officers, they also, of course, as you know, has been protocol, had filed a civil suit against the city and the police and everybody, and it settled for $45 million, which is the largest settlement since George Floyd, and obviously before that, for any Black person who has been harmed by police, and a person who is not dead. Randy Cox is alive. I'm paralyzed, unfortunately. And, you know, $45 million sounds like a whole lot of money. And in fact, it is a lot of money. It is certainly, again, the largest settlement for any person that has been abused by police and their rights have been violated by police officers. And so that's a good thing. However, when you think about someone who is paralyzed with a number of physical issues, I know, you know, he was suffering with bed sores, even though he was in a great facility and they was turning him and all of that, still his body had sores. You know, he was, you know, of course, he has a lot of physical challenges. He needs a lot of equipment. He has to be able to live in environments that allow for all the things, the services or whatever. So $45 million after you finish paying your lawyers and you do all
It only goes, so basically his thing really just goes to his medical expenses.
Right, exactly, because after you pay for your lawyer.
How does he, yeah, there's no benefit from that. If you can't move from your neck down, like, what do you think $45 million really does? But just make sure that he, you know, he just gets comfortable.
And he also has his mother, you know, who his mother is just a regular lady. Like, you know, she's just you know, and we talk about this all the time. These things happen to people that are just regular people, just regular, everyday people out here trying to survive. You know, she's not a woman of great wealth. She's a regular woman just trying to make it from day to day. And now she has the responsibility. And by the way, she's also sickly. She has her own health concerns. We know her, sweet, sweet lady. And to see her have to now take care of him, $45 million, which is not $45 million, because once you, again, deal with all the things you got to pay and the fees, and then you got to move because you need to live somewhere that you can, like, first of all, making your home handicap accessible
is a lot.
It's very difficult.
It's a lot.
Corners and curves, turning, positioning, medical equipment, it is not easy. So to your point, $45 million, while it is definitely still the largest settlement that we have ever seen for a person violated by the police, yet and still, it's not a lot. 100, 200 million.
Yeah, this is a lifetime. This is a lifetime of medical. You know how medical cost is.
And he's young.
He's a young man.
Not 60, 70 years old.
This is a young man, and he has to have a lifetime of medical costs. So at some point, they're gonna have to utilize that money, try to invest in something that continues to make money, because that right there will run out just off his medical, you know, alone. If he's able to live a long life, you know, just the average life that an individual lives. So his mother maybe 69, 70. Like, these people have years to live. Yes, a lot.
So that's where we stand now. And of course, he needs medical care 24 hours a day.
Yes.
Oh, well, I was gonna say before you say that, and you know, the more money you have, the less help you get from the government. So that's a whole other thing. You're paying for everything on your own, because the more money you, like, if you have Medicaid, the best insurance I had was Medicaid. I'm not even gonna lie. It was good insurance when I had Medicaid. Then I got a job, got myself together, moved on, no more Medicaid, insurance goes down from there. So you have to be super poor, and they're trying to change that. The Republicans want that to end, okay? But there was a time when, as poor as you are, you could have good insurance. Now, you might not even get it at that point. So we just end up the messed up time.
Shout out to Scott Edgedale, man, for leading the charge, you know, and being vocal on the local grassroots side of the Randy Cox, you know, situation, you know, and Ben Crump, once again, for doing what he does. You know, I tell people all the time, I don't know what y'all think Crump does. You know, Crump is not prosecuted. He can't send nobody to jail. But when he goes in there, he wants to make sure that you pay for what you did wrong to anybody.
That's
and, you know, he's pretty much the best at that.
Like he said, he's gonna make it so expensive that you don't even want, the police departments in the city can't even manage the amount of money that it costs you to pay for injustice.
Right.
And that's a part of his own activism. I'm gonna find a way to bring as much attention to these situations so that when you have to settle, the number is so high you can't even afford it. We're just gonna start bankrupting police departments until we can get courts to actually give us justice. So everybody's fighting on different levels. Funny thing that happened last night. So you know that the writers in Hollywood, all the writers in Hollywood have been on strike for over a month. So they're striking for all types of rights. They want sort of an overhaul to the ways in which writers are not respected in this moment, right? So, and people who don't know about this, you should really, because it's actually something, it's really powerful to see how writers from so many different backgrounds, writers from all different hues. It's not just Black folks, you know, usually it'd be the Blacks and the Browns getting together to strike about something, but there's white people, there's Black people, there's all types of writers coming together to say, nah, the system has to change. Writers have to be respected. They have to be paid different. They need benefits. They need all the things that they're supposed to have. So that's been going on. So because they did not have, because the writers are on strike, there was no real script for the Tonys last night. Speaking of the Tonys, there was no script for the Tonys. And so people getting up there saying whatever they wanted to say. And one person stood up and called DeSantis, Governor DeSantis, the Grand Wizard of Florida. Now that is, listen,
that's about right.
It's true as can be. But beyond it being true, it is something you never see happen on daytime TV, prime time. So I'm very happy that
Man, voices have to be heard, man. You got to call a spade, man.
Because if the writers had been there, it would have probably been many white writers that would have been on this show, and they would have censored it. So, you know, not to say that I hate this, that they have to strike, but it's good that when they were striking, people just get to talk real and say whatever they want. That's part of the strike too.
That's part of the strike. That's definitely part of the strike, man. We're going to speak truth to power in this strike.
That's right. Since we on strike, hey, we're going to just say whatever we want to say. And then what in the hell, speaking of Governor DeSantis, is Teddy Riley talking about? Like, bruh, my thing is this, right? He's been defending Trump because he says that Trump did something, I think pardoned his cousin or did something for his family.
He said he pardoned his brother.
Pardoned his brother. Now, I didn't even know what he did, but I know he was saying, oh, well, we kind of owe it to him because he did something for my family. Why don't we understand that just because somebody does something for you, it does not mean that you owe them your ass? Like, you're dumb for that, period. You don't owe them your whole ass just because they did something for you. You can still say, hey, first of all, if that is what is required for some favors, you might not need that favor. And I'm not, and I know that if he was here, he would say, oh, it's easy for you to say that. The favor is in trade for my brother's freedom. Respect that. I get it. But if a person therefore tells you that or if you feel that because your brother was freed, you now have the obligation to support a racist, fascist freaking man who we just have been talking about the last few weeks or the last few years, but specifically in the last few days, actually, how dangerous this man is. Mm-hmm. And you out here, like, just be quiet. Why don't people know how to just be quiet? Who asked him to say something?
I'm telling you, that's what social media does. You know, we've all been victims. It makes you speak when you don't need to speak, right? It makes you say shit that everybody shouldn't know. Like, if you support Trump, you know? But I think in the space that you are, Teddy Riley, just understanding where you are, what your demographic is, what your fan base is, you know, I think you have to be very much more strategic and articulate at the way that you support somebody, right? Because when you support somebody like Trump because he freed your brother, you can say that. You can say, you know what, I appreciate what President Trump has done for my brother there. And he has done good things. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with this. I can see why this is a problem. But the fact that I will always be grateful for the fact that he was the personal part of my brother. Now, this right here, I can't co-sign. I understand why everyone else is mad, And when you do stuff like that, people can't do anything but say, okay, I can respect that. But when you just start saying, yo, I support him because he did this and he taught me how to be a free man in America. What? What are you talking about, a free man? That man got more charges than Pookie.
About to not be free.
Like, what are you talking about? What did he taught you? He taught you how to just say, fuck, common sense and, fuck the law and I'm just going to do things my way. And like, I don't understand what Teddy is trying to, prove or try to say, but I think it landed wrong. This one didn't land properly, So
well, here's the thing. When you don't know what you're talking about and you get to talking, people can quickly tell. And so in order for him to do what you just suggested, which is to say, hey, I forgot to call him sexist. I said racist, fascist. I needed to say sexist in there, excuse me. When you are not well informed, right? You're unable to say, I appreciate Trump for what he's done, but I also see an issue with XYZ, because you don't even know what XYZ is because you're not even paying attention to what's going on. You can't be, because I have to believe Teddy Riley as an artist and a musical genius that we know and respect. I have to believe that you have not been paying attention to the political landscape in America for you
to say that. Yeah.
I would not even say, right, that I support Trump. Joe Biden 100%. I wouldn't even say that.
Never.
No way would I say that.
And nobody has ever seen, and that's what pisses me off, because people say, oh, you said, well, I said, just show me the place where I said vote for Biden. Show me the one time that you heard those words ever come out my mouth. There has never been a time that I told you go vote for Biden. Nobody can ever put that in my mouth. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, the reality of what's going on. But also what I was going to say, it seems to me it's very disheartening, right? That us as Black people, that it's like you give us this one crumb and we starve and we never forget that crumb and we just overlook the fact that the master done beat us and do all type of shit. It's like I hear this same sentiment. Well, Trump let niggas go home. Right? I know niggas that went home. And it's like, when you look at the amount of people that Trump let go home, and they're vocal, somehow their voices get vocal. The Black people that they let go home, the voice is vocal. And when you look at historically, the Obama administration did more pardons historically than probably the last 10 administrations. And you never hear that talked about. Those things are never, like, literally he had to sign over 1,000 people to be free because the Republicans refused to pass the original law that he wanted to make the people who were the same people that Trump let about 5,000 of them go home. Originally, he was trying to make it retroactive so everybody with that charge would have been free immediately, and the Republicans blocked. These are things that's not said. So when we have those conversations where, oh, Trump gave us stimulus, nobody get, like, this is the shit that when Trump says, vote for me, my African Americans, what do you have to lose? Shit like that is like somebody throwing us pennies and we just say, look, he gave us this. And it really is disheartening. But I understand, because you're talking about people who really haven't had anything. You're talking about our communities who really have been disheveled and dealing with a lot of, so, they play this game all the time and we fall for it. And I hate hearing it.
What I would say is that, because you mentioned, but you kind of like sped past it, that President Obama, he was trying to pass legislation that would allow multiple people to be freed at one time And they slowed down his progress by forcing him to have to go and free each person individually, which
No,
is,
they didn't slow down the process. They blocked the process.
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So
they blocked that process. So what happened is, since they wouldn't pass the legislation because they gutted it, and that's how they came up with this First Step Act, because they completely gutted Obama's bill that would have retroactively freed all nonviolent drug offenders. So they gutted it and they came up with this first act that only freed probably like 3% of what he was trying to let go. But in his last days, since he knew they wasn't doing it, he started signing over 1,000 pardons to release people. And because he figured before that they would do it, you know, he wasn't. Now it's like 3 or 4 days and 10 days before we go, and you got to physically sign those.
Well, it wasn't a physical signing thing, though. It wasn't. It's that in order to get each individual person free, there's a court process. So that's what I meant when I said slowed it down. There's a court process for each person. There's all types of briefs that have to be filed. There's lawyers that have to go in and do all of this work within the courts. And so they wouldn't allow him to pass legislation that would make it happen easily, or not so much easily. Well, yeah, I mean, retroactively, yes, but I'm saying it would have been like a slate of individuals, versus him having to have his administration, with all the other things they're working on, focus on individual people. And so with that being said, these folks are very strategic about what they do. Exactly. And I think that, yes, you know, when you talked about how Trump said, you know, the Black people have nothing to lose. And so did President Biden say, if you Black, you're not Black if you don't vote for me. I mean, these people say some of the dumbest shit you ever want to hear, and it all is rooted in racism. All of it is rooted in racism. And I'm saying that a person like Teddy Riley needs to have people around him to help him be informed. And he need not feel that he owes Donald Trump an allegiance against his own people. That he need not feel that he owes Donald Trump an allegiance against American citizens. I mean, you need not feel that. You can still say, I appreciate this thing you did over here, and I respect it, but you need not go and sell your whole body in order to get that. It's like a man gives me a nice bag or a nice gift, or even does something life-changing for me. You can't screw me every time you come over here, though. Like what they say, the song say, what have you done for me lately? Okay, because you might have did that thing over there, but then you doing these other things over here, that's not okay. And we just don't have to praise racist white people. We just don't have to do it, no matter, because guess what? Pardoning your brother, pardoning all our people, free our people, free our people. Not saying that everything our people have done is right or whatever, but understanding the way the systems have been set up in this country and the ways in which they can find to criminalize us and not criminalize themselves, that is unjust. So free our people. I'm saying that, right? And so therefore, if you do pardon somebody, damn it, you were supposed to. So now there we go. So you didn't do shit that was so big and cool. It's good. We're grateful for Topeka and others. We know that was the right thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. So just because you did the right thing does not mean that you have to get praised in the bullshit that you're also doing at the same time.
That's right.
So that was my thought of the day. My thought of the day is to Teddy Riley, you do not owe Donald Trump your whole ass just because he pardoned your brother. He did what he was supposed to do. He was the president, and obviously they found reason to do so. Now you still, at this time, have the right to call a spade and call out a man who is a racist, sexist, fascist, who wants to take our country to a place where Black people will not be free. So whatever he tells you or whatever you think you learned about being a free Black man, if you allow Donald Trump to be president of this country, I promise you, they have done enough to unravel, to shift, to change, to destroy the little bit of progress that our people have made. And if you allow even for one moment, that man to become president of this country again, you're going to see some shit, because the DeSantis's, the governor DeSantis, and all of these folks, they were emboldened due to President Trump's presidency. So don't sell your whole ass for one favor that was done to your personal family, because there is a family of millions and millions more that also deserve for you to stand up for them.
Not the whole ass, Teddy, not the whole thing.
So now it's time for us to go to our guests. I'm excited to have this conversation because people keep calling me, asking me about Trump. I'm like, shit, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure out, just like you. I just want to ask, is Trump going to jail? So our next guest is going to come on and help us break down what's happening. 37 indictment charges. That's a lot of charges. That's a lot of charges.
Federal charge.
Federal. Perhaps there was a real investigation going on.
Yeah, maybe.
So our guest today is somebody who is absolutely no stranger to street politicians. We like to call him our smart, educated, knowledgeable, know-it-all-able about all things politics-able, movement, everything. Is the Reverend Mark Thompson. He's also our friend and brother. And we invited you on today, Reverend Thompson, to help us unpack what is happening with the Trump indictments. And the question that I have to get us kicked off is Trump going to jail? That's what I want to know. Thank you for being on with us, Reverend Mark Thompson.
Well, thank you for having me, and good as always to be with you and Mice. Hey, brother.
How you doing, King?
I'm good, man. You know, first of all, full disclosure, obviously I'm not an attorney, but most people aren't. So I think it's good to hear from us lay people about what this looks like and what this means. And first of all, I think it's important, as much as the three of us talk about injustices and the criminal injustice system. I mean, for a change, we see a white man being held accountable for crimes that he actually committed, when every day Black folk are held accountable for crimes that they don't commit, or that they don't have legal representation to get them out of. And I think there have been statistics to show that. Most of us who are locked up don't even see the inside of a courtroom in terms of a trial. We're pushed into a plea situation. In answer to your question, I think it's going to be very, very difficult to keep Donald Trump out of jail because of the magnitude of what this is. And for those who may not really understand that, on the one hand, it looks like, well, he stole some boxes, some documents, but you have to know what the documents mean. This is classified information about weapon systems, the Department of Defense, plans to invade or surveil other countries. And it also contains information about informants and what have you, agents in the CIA. Now, the New York Times did a story recently on CIA agents being targeted, being outed. That's a very serious crime when you're the commander in chief. And you take that oath of office. If you are causing harm to people in the CIA who are spies and exposing them, that puts them and their families at risk. And it appears Donald Trump has put those individuals at risk. We don't know for certain yet whether he's caused the death of anyone, and we probably won't know because that information is still classified. But if in fact he's caused death and harm to individuals who are an employee of the United States government, if he's revealed secrets. And by the way, when you reveal secrets about United States agents, you often also are revealing secrets about agents in other countries who are United States allies. I also want to be clear, you know, to borrow a page from Malcolm, you know, when people would say our astronauts, they're not our astronauts. These aren't our agents. We, as Black folk, really don't have any business but to do anything but criticize U.S. foreign policy and U.S. espionage. It's never been good for us, and it's never been good for Black people, if not people of color throughout the world. But in this business of empire, in which he was their employee, you know, if we're the president, we are an employee of the empire. And when you have a job and you take an oath on that job, and you do things that bring harm to your employee, your company, that institution, which in this case happens to be the United States government, you can go down. 37 counts. I don't know anybody in any category, lastly, that can have 37 charges filed against them, 37 felonies, federal charges, and escape being convicted of any. I just don't, you know, as you know, Mice, even when folks have to take plea deals, they get a bunch of charges, but they got to plead. Something's going to happen. That's part of the arrangement. You got to, and I don't really know if he's eligible for a plea deal. He's probably too proud to do it, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult for an argument to be made to keep him out of jail.
Wow. So basically some of the information he has exposes the CIA's snitches, the ones they got. Wow. So man.
Well, put it another way, he's snitching. Now we don't know
and expose it. Oh well, so they just might have been just undercover.
Undercover, and that's the CIA's. That's their job.
Mm-hmm.
It is a spy organization. So throughout the world, the different intelligence agencies, the most notorious being the CIA, British MI6. That's James Bond, folks. That's who he works for. And obviously Israel's Mossad. Those are three of the most powerful espionage agencies in the world. And there are others that are significant, Pakistan, Canada, and that's the business of empire. They spy, they surveil, they spy on countries that they consider enemies, and they spy on each other. All right, that's the intrigue of politics in the world. And so Trump has placed that whole apparatus in jeopardy. It is reckless, and ultimately, if you're the president today, if you're Joe Biden, then your allies are probably calling saying, "What's up? How can we trust you? Is our information safe with you?" Because you have spies that work together. If there's a U.S. spy or a U.S. project or initiative that's working with the British government or the Israeli government, and that's in those boxes, and it gets exposed. And what is he doing? He takes the boxes, y'all. It's if it weren't funny, it'd be kind of say he's real messy. He takes boxes, packs them himself. He packs these boxes of classified documents himself, stores them on a stage in Mar-a-Lago. Then when the heat comes, he puts them in the bathroom in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, boxes on boxes. And when people come by, he shows off. Look, I have a box. This is a document. I'm not supposed to show you. It's a secret document. It's like a kid showing off something to make himself seem popular. Very reckless, very childish.
But you brought up Joe Biden, President Biden. And so he had documents as well, right? That was something that was found recently, that he also had documents. What's the difference in the two? Well,
to this point, Joe Biden hasn't been indicted. Second of all, he reported immediately that he'd taken these documents by mistake. Also, by the way, Mike Pence as well. Mike Pence found documents on his person, disclosed them, turned them in. So apparently it's not an impossibility that someone could take something home that they later learned they should not have taken home. And both those instances with Biden and Pence, those documents were disclosed, and if they're not still under investigation, the investigation was closed, and it has not resulted in a special counsel or a grand jury. And then we're not talking about boxes either. I mean, if you look at the indictment, folks, Trump probably had at least 20, 25 boxes of documents. I mean, huge boxes that go in a moving truck.
Right. And I think with President Biden, when he was asked to return the documents or whatever happened, they immediately turned them over. It wasn't like this process that they had to go through of literally breaking into Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
To go get the documents.
And he didn't obstruct justice. One of the charges is obstruction of justice, which is a very serious charge. Trump lied. He lied about the documents, lied about what he had, lied about where they came from. He's incriminated himself several times with the back and forth stories about, I can declassify, but I can't. And I know I shouldn't have them, but I'm able to declassify. If I say it's declassified, but I know I'm really not supposed to have it. I mean, he's just all over the place. He has no legal representation that's real. Two of his lawyers have resigned since this. Nobody wants to represent him because none of the lawyers want to go to jail. They're scared of that. And that's what happens when you represent Donald Trump. He has, we all live in New York. He has been able to skirt the law all his life in New York, get away with things. But I think he's finally met his match in this special counsel and in this federal judicial system.
So he's been indicted. So what is the next stage? Have they set any time for trial? Like who's going to try it? Like what is going on?
We'll find out what the timetable is. There's supposed to be something called the rocket docket in Florida, which is why the special counsel chose to go to Florida for that. But the bad part about it is they ended up with a Trump appointee as judge who's made some rulings in the past favorable to Trump that even the 11th Circuit, which oversees her, criticized her for. So not sure how this is going to work out. She may try to help him. I think it'll be difficult for her to do. She has an oath as well. This is not a circumstantial case. It's pretty black and white. We have the pictures of the boxes in Mar-a-Lago, so he can't say they weren't there. All right, so he took them home. He has them. And in a trial like this, that's really all you're trying. Does he have them? Does he not? Did he lie about having them? They can prove all of that. She may have the power. It's unclear yet. She may have the power to postpone the trial for a long period of time until after, to draw it out. And I'm sure whatever lawyers he tricks into representing him, to draw it out past the 2024 election. And if he can do that, he can run again. I doubt he'll be reelected, but he can. I think if it's Biden and Trump head to head, it'll go down the same way it did in 2020. We'll see. But he'll have this hanging over his head if the trial goes forward and he's in deep trouble, deep doo-doo. That just lessens his chances even more of being elected president again.
But if he was elected president, could he go to jail? Can you send a sitting president to prison?
I believe so. I think
I keep hearing that, different things about that. So I wasn't.
Yeah, my understanding is the only thing that would actually disqualify him from serving would be if he was actually convicted of sedition and insurrection in the January 6th matter. I'm not clear as to whether or not, if he's found guilty of the Espionage Act, if he in fact is disqualified. He ought to be. I mean, there's historical precedent for that. Benedict Arnold wasn't president, but we say the name Benedict Arnold, that's the name that's always used when somebody is a turncoat or a snitch or a spy. And Donald Trump is the first president to be in that category. Tamika, you asked earlier whether this has happened before. I think the closest that this has come before was when Richard Nixon, well, actually two instances. Richard Nixon sabotaged the Paris Peace Accords that would have ended the Vietnam War during Johnson's administration right before the '68 election. Wanted to harm Johnson. So he sabotaged the peace talks. It could have ended earlier to draw out the war to hurt Johnson. Needless to say, Johnson ended up not running. The only other circumstance would have been when Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, the father, negotiated with the Ayatollah to keep the hostages in Iran in 1980 so that Jimmy Carter could lose and they could win the election. So there's been that level of interference.
But they weren't prosecuted.
No, they weren't, and they were never charged. They were never charged. And those are things that are known about. There was no special counsel appointed. And some of that is circumstantial. That's about places and people being in different places at certain times. But this is hard body evidence, paperwork.
But that brings me to my question, Mark. How did we get the pictures? How did that happen, right? You talked about lawyers who have resigned. You talked about, people who don't want to be implicated in this because it's actually really serious. I mean, I don't know the gentleman's name. In fact, I think I could pull it up, but it's one of these talking heads or folks that they invite to be on Fox News Channel all the time that has defended Trump for everything. Anything he does, Trump didn't do anything wrong. And finally, this weekend, the man was on Fox News and said these charges are pretty damning, right? Yeah. So it seems like a lot of people are beginning to say there's no more wiggle room here. So the question that makes me wonder, how did these documents how did the pictures of the documents and the video and all of the details of what he did and said, and like you said, he was telling people, I'm not supposed to have these documents, but I have them, but I could declassify. How did we find all of this out?
Well, as we know, the special counsel's office and the FBI have been investigating this for over a year. So they've interviewed Trump, they've interviewed people down in Mar-a-Lago, they have been gathering evidence, and they took pictures of the documents once they found them, once they realized where they were. And So that's how we have him, and that's what's in the charging document. We had not seen those pictures before the indictment document was released. And the special counsel said, look, everybody just look at this. We don't have a lot to say about it. You can look at it for yourselves, read it for yourselves, and see what this is really all about. So that's how it came about. This has been going on for some time. He prolonged it by not wanting to turn documents over time. He prolonged it by changing his story so many times. All of that is laid out. If people can go look at it online, you can just literally Google the Trump indictment and see even some of the things he was saying. He had somebody's writing a book, and he says, come here, let me show you something. I'm not supposed to show you this. It's a secret. But look, I got this document. This was planned for war, to go to war against Iran. And this is the missile weapon system we're trying to build. Just crazy. And even the people who were doing it, like, they were like, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't be looking at this either, because nobody, people don't want to be implicated. Don't show me. I don't want to see that. But he's flashing these documents at people just to impress them, because that's just how immature he is. I think, to his credit, the special counsel, and by the way, the counsel, Jack Smith, he is a prosecutor in the International Criminal Court. So he has a reputation of prosecuting world leaders for crimes. That's his thing. Mm-hmm. So this is who was chosen by Merrick Garland to prosecute this. And I don't know, I just don't know how Trump gets out of it. It'll be drawn out. You mentioned, though, Tamika, that people are now saying that he's in trouble. Some are, but none of the Republican candidates are yet. They are interestingly silent, because they still don't want to offend his base. They want his voters. So DeSantis, the day after DeSantis said Trump violated the Constitution when he tried to order him to take part in the insurrection, he was going to kill Mike Pence. All right, he's going to have him hung. The next day, when Trump's indicted, he says that that's wrong. He's scared. DeSantis is scared. Chris Christie came out throwing lefts and rights in his announcement, but he's been silent too since the indictment. So on the one hand, those are the candidates, but yeah, other former officials, other former
Jonathan Turley is who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, people like that. Bill Barr, even his attorney general, right. John Bolton. But sometimes people.
Oh, William Barr had something to say.
Yeah. They've all said Trump is out of control. But I've also, in my experience, people also say those kind of things because they want to make sure they're not implicated. And anybody who was an attorney worth his or her salt in the room with him while he was doing that would have said, "Hey, dude, you're on your own on this one. I can't be a part of this."
That's what you say, right? When you be with your friend is wild and crazy, and you with everything, you with the shits, and then they get to a certain point, like what's that movie we always laugh about, Mike? American
Gangster. When she said, "I will leave you."
You killing cops. That's everybody know you don't.
Everybody know you don't kill the police.
well, I'll give you another example. Let's all of us here talking together, all of us listen. Let's think for a minute. Barack Obama's leaving the White House, and he calls some of us. He says, "Hey, y'all, come over, help me get some stuff, put in some boxes, and take it with me." Now, what does an average person do? We might go over there and say, "What can we take?" We can maybe take some sheets, some china, some paintings, either stuff that we can show off to our friends. We might have a few friends who might pass by some stuff they can sell. Hot. But who would consider, nobody here, nobody listening, I'm sure, would ever think, "Hey, where are the classified documents kept?" Why? Because what are we going to do with them? Exactly. What do you do with classified documents? The only thing you can do is
go to jail. That's
right.
it.
But no, that might. So the other thing you can do is, if you have a way to sell those, the only way you know how to sell those is if you are a professional spy. And what have people always said about Donald Trump? That he is an agent for the Russian government. So if somebody dropped a document like that in any one of the three of our laps, okay, y'all go sell this. We wouldn't even know who to call. We don't know anybody who knows who to call. But the only person who could do it would be a spy.
That's that's the jail that they don't even got to put you in jail.
Right.
Like that's the jail they could just hold you and say, "Look, we're just gonna keep you here for about 60 years till we figure out what you know."
And Linda talks about that all the time. It's like Guantanamo Bay or whatever, or something where they just hold you and you don't know what goes on in those environments. But Mark, you talk about how he sounds like a kid, because it's true. It's kind of like you're dealing with a little child, right? Do you
Right.
think that that is something that will get him leniency in the final hour, that he didn't know how serious it was, or he didn't take it seriously because he thought it was like a joke, you know, because it seems like they always find wiggle room for white men, one, and two, Trump absolutely seems to just get away with whatever he wants to do. So where do you see holes possibly?
I think in this judge, I think that's the biggest concern right now. Now, the special counsel, some are saying he was wise to take it to Florida because not only that's where the documents were, it prevents Trump from drawing out the trial if it were here in New York. What would Trump say? Oh, in New York, there's not a fair jury in New York. Everybody in New York is against me, which is true. And he would argue that he would be certainly convicted. So you take it to Florida, where one of the grand juries voted to indict. So even though Florida is Trump/DeSantis country, they got a grand jury down there. Can't get a grand jury nowhere to indict no officers for killing black people. But a grand jury in Florida, one of the reddest states in the country now, voted to charge Donald Trump and to indict him. That says they saw something that was like, whoa, this is a little scary. So we'll have to see. I think the hole will be with the judge. She'll probably try to do some procedural things to muck it up. But I think it's going to be very, very difficult because when you instruct a jury in a trial, you try to confine it to just the facts. Did he take these documents? That is the question. And there are pictures of the documents. He's been all over television saying, yeah, I took them, I had the right to take them, but he didn't. He didn't have the right to take them.
So he took these documents when he left,
Right.
left office. So this is not, or at least that's what they think. Because he could have
packed
been.
up, he took his shit. He packed up and he took his shit.
So when we saw the picture of the U-Haul truck outside in front of the White House, and they made jokes. No, it was like a real picture, and people made jokes that it was Melania getting her stuff out of there. But
Right.
it's very possible there's some documents, like he just did what he wanted to do, but there has to be a reason for it, because you can't tell me that this man did not know he could get in big trouble for taking these documents, but he took the risk anyway. But then why would he tell other people, Mark?
Again, would you say, yeah, he's stupid. He's, you know, and he's narcissistic. He thinks he can get away with everything. Look, remember now, folks, the protocol is for the outgoing president and the incoming president to be sworn in to ride to the Capitol together. Remember, Trump didn't go to Biden's inauguration. He boycotted it. Well, now we know why. He stayed back to be sure that his stuff he personally packed his stuff. That's what the indictment said. He didn't have just staff do it. He's going through the boxes. Let's get this, instructing people what to pack. So, and he didn't do that in a matter of a few hours. He had obviously contemplated what he was going to take and what he was going to try to use to either sell or to flash around. You know, what other thing that makes him stupid is, I hope he got something out of it. I mean, what's the point in going to jail just to keep something in your bathroom? You're gonna do something with it, sell it, get some money. You know, extend your contract with Putin or whoever you're going to sell that information to.
He's probably gonna have a, you know, start his own little museum.
Well, again, there's a process for that. There are presidential libraries and museums, and you have to go through the National Archives and they decide what's released. Some things have timed releases. So there's certain presidential libraries, they may not get a document they want right away, but they'll get it when it's officially to be released 2025, 30.
He's gonna circumvent the process, man.
Every time.
All that. I want it now. But even with that, has anybody heard about any fundraising to build a Trump presidential library? Has it been any? That starts right away.
That probably was his.
Already raising money for his library. Trump ain't got no library. He's got no place. The library is in the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago.
He probably was trying to. That was his exit plan, his retirement plan. He said, "Man, if all else fails, I got these documents, man. I can sell."
But wait, let me ask this question though. Do you think, and I know again, like you said, none of us are lawyers. We weren't there. We don't know all the details, but we're pretty smart folk. And, you know, we've been doing some things for long enough that we can make some pretty good assumptions. Do you think he was being blackmailed to get these documents? And have we heard yet that anything is missing? Like, are they looking for something in the, to your point, current administration, the current administration has to deal with allies saying, hey, where's the stuff that we got something going on over here? Where's that stuff? Like, has anybody said, well, you know, where is this document that is about something serious in terms of international issues?
Right. So I'll answer the second part first. I think we can reasonably hypothesize that is going on, but because it's classified, they won't tell us. Also, that's the nature of it. We're going to get little pieces of information dribbled out, and they're not going to disclose anything that they may want to use in trial. Because
so
that's
you
the
think trial is on, we're going to know everything in trial. Yeah. You think it's going to be closed?
Well, some of it will be open, I'm sure. Some of it will be closed. Some of it will be classified. But whatever they choose to disclose to the public, they're going to hold that evidence. They're not going to tip him off, right? We'll never know the conversations that Biden is having with world leaders. We'll never know. Like I said, New York Times just did a story on CIA operatives being targeted and hunted and killed. So, but you can't say who they were because that's the nature of being a CIA operative. Nobody can know who you are. Sometimes your family can't know you're a CIA operative. And so we'll never know whether that's a relationship but directly between what Trump has done. We may find out in months to come or years to come. The White House will never tell us that the president of France is called Biden to say, hey man, you compromised some of my people. You got operatives that work for the United States and operatives who work for other countries. If their locations are disclosed, I mean, that's the nature of the spy business. Your life's on the line. If you get outed, you're done. Your cover's blown. Yeah. We've all watched enough TV and movies to know how it works. Your cover's blown, you're done.
So Trump is a spy.
Well, so Malcolm Nance, who's the national security expert himself, when this was going on at first, when he was in office, kind of walked us through the 4 levels, the highest level being a full-on agent, the lowest level being a useful idiot. And I think there was consensus that Trump has always been a useful idiot. Nobody could ever find the evidence that he was actually on a payroll and that he had a W-2 from the Russian government. But somewhere on that spectrum, he's between useful idiot and being an agent. I think he played a lot of
being blackmailed, possibly.
Well, and that's part of the compromise. The compromise was always that Russia had surveilled him. It surveilled him in Russia. That's how the issue of the golden shower, the PP tape was out there. Although they may not even need that, because what you also have, the other reality is he owes money to the oligarchs in Russia. That's enough. And let me tell you something. Put this aside. We all know how they play in Russia. They'll take you out. They kill people. They disappear people. Car accidents. Everybody jumping out. Everybody ain't jumping out a window 2, 3, 4 times a week. That doesn't happen every day. Oh, it's 5 people jumped out the window in Russia today. No. Important people too. I mean, big name people. So, he knows that, and so that probably too is part of the blackmail. And so that's how he gets away with it. That's what motivates him.
Wow.
It's a lot to unpack, Mark.
It's a lot to unpack. So he's going to jail.
Well, we hope so. We hope that he's held accountable. I mean, they'll send him someplace nice if he goes, but I think it'll be very, very difficult. I mean, what do you do with the president? Do you put an ankle bracelet on him? You let him, stay in the house? I mean, you got to figure out, this has never happened before. So this will be a very, very different thing. If he goes to jail, he won't have the bronzer, the hair care products. It's going to be rough.
I think he's going to give him house arrest, him and his homeboys. His house is like, he got what? Table tennis, he got golf, he got whatever he needed. They ain't sending Trump to jail. I don't have that much faith in America.
I hear you. And you may be right. You may be right about that too. But it may be enough that this will be, if this happens and goes down, if he's convicted, first of all, he's already the first president in history to be federally indicted. And it's not done. Fani Willis in Georgia is working on another indictment from the election and the interference in that. So he's going to have other indictments to come. He's got a city indictment here in Manhattan, a state indictment from the state of New York. Georgia's coming. No, this has never happened to any other president in history. So if nothing else, he's in the history books for that.
Wow.
Now the question becomes, now the candidates are running on, well, we'll pardon him. We'll do like Gerald Ford and pardon him if he's in office.
Wow.
So even if they put him in jail, if a Republican president is in office, they'll pardon him and release him. And the way this country works, Biden may be, if he's reelected, he may be forced to do the same. Because remember,
Well,
Jimmy
that's what
Carter
I was
pardoned.
going to ask you. No, before you say, because I want you to say, give us the history of Jimmy Carter. But I was going to say that Joe Biden, President Biden, might pardon him himself, because if there is violence in the streets the way that Trump has been calling for, right? Like that is a thing, a real thing that he's using, which I don't even think that is code language anymore. It seems to be very clear that tomorrow, we wouldn't say tomorrow. It seems to be very clear that he and other extremist groups are calling for there to be an uprising. And
Right.
if he goes to jail, we can only imagine that would get worse. And perhaps Joe Biden would feel that, or the administration would feel that it doesn't serve the country to have him inside of a prison. And the other thing is, does it serve our country from a
Political standpoint,
a visual, right? The visuals of that for other countries, does it make us look weak? Like, what do you think?
Well, those are all the considerations Biden will have to take up, because it is going to impact allies. The prime minister of Britain was just here. He visited the White House, and for the first time, he's a person of color, although he's a right-wing conservative. I'm sure in those private conversations, Biden had to provide some reassurance that mutual secrets are safe or unsafe. Now, the other thing that happens is, if a CIA operative is at risk of being burned, and people know that, I mean, they get these documents, they review them, they say, oh, look, these people in jeopardy, then you pull them out. If you have time to do that. But we also know some people have not been able to be pulled out, and their lives may be in jeopardy even as we speak. But I think that what Biden is going to have to do, Jimmy Carter commuted the sentences of one or two people convicted in Watergate. They weren't pardoned, but they were commuted from prison to be free. Trump is an old man. They sent him to prison. I mean, it could just be something as simple. He's too old, too sick. And people play those games too. The mafia does that. I mean, if I'm too old, I'm sick, and then they'll figure out a way to commute the sentence. So seeing him do the kind of hard time that a young person or a non-president, look how they prosecute people or want to prosecute those involved in WikiLeaks and other classified information. This is the same thing. And the United States has precedent, so you can't come after all the other whistleblowers who are legitimate whistleblowers, and then comes Donald Trump. Well, we're just going to give him a pass now.
Well, it's like you said, my son, it's a lot to unpack, and especially for people who don't pay attention to politics at all. This is like overwhelming, all of this stuff. All they see is on the news, Trump is indicted. And I think that it certainly puts a damper on society. If he's indicted in this way, all these charges, you hear all these people saying this is a big deal, and then he does not face any real consequences for it. That's not good for America either. So no, it may not be good to have him in prison because of all the implications, the violence, the just everything, how we look again, because to your point, which I didn't even think about that, Mark, that if you put him in jail, what stops him from just telling everything he knows, right?
Yeah.
And really putting our country in danger, and our agents that are around, across the borders and in different places around the world. So, I mean, all of those things are true, but there's also something to be said about the fact that our people and anybody other than the president and rich white men and rich white people are held responsible and accountable for their actions tenfold sometimes, And to see him walk free would just, I think that would also harm the country, our politics and everything else. So that's that on that. But Mike, I don't know if you want to say something about that, but I do want you, before you go, Mark, to tell us about what's happening with the Jalen Walker matter in Akron, Ohio.
No, I'm good. I want to hear about it because what you said is pretty much my sentiments. It's a quagmire. You know, when you think about Trump, what he represents is, you know, he represents lawlessness, and he represents something that can put this whole country in jeopardy on either way. Him being free jeopardizes us, and him not being free also jeopardizes. And that's why we have to be very careful about the people that we put in power. You know, you give people a level of power, they can abuse it, you know. So, and I think his actions and the way that he moves shows that at some point he realized that he had a level of leverage that made it almost impossible for him to be held accountable, right? Because he's like, yo, I'm a common person. I'm somebody who's not politically savvy. I just have money. I know how to utilize my money. Now you give me access to secrets and things that can completely damage this country. I have knowledge that I shouldn't know, and they know that I have this knowledge. So you know, you can't make me an enemy, you know, because then at that point I can utilize this information to benefit me. So it's like he's playing from that point of view. So yeah, it's very strange.
I agree. And last thing I'll say just on Trump is I know I wouldn't want to be caught in between the CIA and the Russian FSB. I mean, you have a death sentence. You're going to piss off the CIA and the Russian FSB. And sooner or later, something's going to happen to you. I mean, that's just all it is. It may not happen today or tomorrow, but you really, those are two people, two groups, two institutions you don't want to have looking for you. So, you know, that's it. And so from that point of view, and I know do others, the more people that are around him, they don't want to be caught in there because their name's exposed. Yep. So folks are heading for the hills. Bye, peace, man. Nice to know you. I'm out. So there's that. Jalen Walker, folks, a grand jury. See, and this, watch it, and I said that earlier for a reason. You have a grand jury in a red state like Florida. See what we've yet to see. They saw enough to say indict the former president Donald Trump, who ran in this state and won. They found a grand jury to do that. That's huge. That's not supposed to happen. Grand jury in Akron, Ohio, sees the hard evidence of a young brother shot at almost 100 times with 46 bullets hit him, and decide not to hold a single officer. Who, of the 8 officers that fired the shot, everybody got off scot-free. Had a national march in Akron last month. This month, June 27th, we invite people. I know you both will be there at the Department of Justice to demand the Department of Justice initiate a pattern and practice investigation into the Akron Police Department and investigate the case of Jalen Walker to see whether his civil rights were in fact violated. So, you know, while we get some, while people are seeking justice for Trump, we still have our lives not mattering. You know what? I get this to Trump. You know what Trump ought to say? He ought to say, wait a minute, y'all. If you can't indict someone where there's video and photos of him being shot 46 times, you can let them off. Why can't you let me off? He would almost be justified in saying that. What's the difference? They had the evidence dead to rights on those 8 officers in Akron, did nothing. And so obviously to the United States and the men in the United States and the people on these grand juries, these documents are more valuable. But again, why? We're talking about agencies where there are individuals working and their lives are in jeopardy. And most of those people don't look like us. Now, I'm sure there's some agents of color. There are operatives within the CIA. You know, Black people have jobs in the CIA now. People of color have jobs in the CIA. But that's still the institution of the empire. That's still the institution of the empire. Jalen Walker out here on his own. Any one of us out here on our own, there's no accountability. Justiceforjalen.us. Check your social media, but 1:30 p.m. at the Department of Justice. If you're in the DMV, if you want to join us, and we're bringing buses from Akron. So if you're in Akron, you can jump on the bus, hop on the bus, get on the bus, come to Washington, D.C. We're going to be out in front of the DOJ making some noise for our brother. We have to do something to bring this about. Merrick Garland didn't want to prosecute Donald Trump. That's why he gave it to a special counsel wisely. But we got to do something about Jalen Walker. You know, let's hold those officers accountable as well.
Well, we want to say thank you, Mark.
Well, before you do that, Mark, tell us about what the people of Akron did.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the legislation that's been passed.
Well, Akron, I would hope, and unfortunately, this does not get the type of coverage it deserves. Akron was, Jalen Walker was shot June 27th, 2022. So that's why we're gathering in Washington, D.C., June 27th. By November of 2022, the citizens of Akron got placed on the ballot an initiative to establish civilian oversight of the Akron Police Department. So less than 6 months. And folks, that shows the power we have in our local communities to bring about change and reform. As I've said, I know it sounds like a broken record. We will not tweet justice in policing. Police are governed locally. So we gotta get our elbow grease together. But you know, sometimes it's easier to tweet. Sometimes it's not as glamorous and we don't have as much time. It's too tedious to do local organizing. And we get gratified when we put something on Twitter and on Instagram and it gets thousands of likes. But how many of those likes are in your local community to bring the change in that local space? Akron didn't do any of that. They got on the ground and Akron focused on Akron and got that initiative on the ballot so that there's civilian oversight of the police department. If Akron can do it, little old Akron, it's not in the news every day. Every other city, big or small, can do the same thing. So I think people really should focus on that, you know, and not give in to the instant gratification and the comfort of, because the social media is not telling you, well, where are these likes coming from? And what assignment are you giving? I want you all to sign this petition. What's about to happen in Atlanta? We were down there to stop Cop City. Right. They're getting signatures on the ballot to vote to repeal the city council's passage of Cop City this November, and they'll probably do it. But that's real organizing. That's the discipline that it takes. And look, as we look at, we're upon the 60th anniversary of Medgar Evers' assassination. Local organizing. Medgar wasn't shot for being a national organizer. That's the power of local organizing. Dr. King, Montgomery. Again, if he was around today, what would we tell him to do? Oh, form a national organization, get your Instagram account. No, we got to do the local organizing when it comes to a lot of these issues, especially the police. That's what the people in Akron did.
Well, Mark, you know, it's a lot because we could go on and on with this case and that case. And some people know about Cop City because we started informing them on our show and started talking about Cop City. And, you know, so some folks know, but some people are like, what? Cop City, Jalen Walker, Trump, it's so many things at one time. It's hard to keep up with, but it's good to know that, you know, you're out there in so many different spaces and then able to come and articulate. And you were out while being between working with Justin Jones in Tennessee. You were then back in New York for Jordan Neely to stand with Jordan, the protesters and the organizers around the murder of Jordan Neely, which we should talk about that real quick before you go. Then you know, back and forth in Akron, helping to manage things there, showed up for the folks at Cop City. It's something to be said about all of that because it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of resources to move around from state to state and be there to give some of that wisdom that you have to these movements that are being led largely by younger organizers and younger activists. And I know that everybody that you've been working with appreciates your involvement and the knowledge that you have, just a wealth of knowledge. I know certainly we do it Until Freedom and we do personally, you know, my son and I. So we just want to salute you, first of all, for what you've been doing and how consistent you've been in this movement for a very, very long time. And I did want to talk about, oh shoot, I forgot, what was it? What we want to talk about? What I have to talk about?
Jordan.
Oh, right. Did you all see that for Jordan Neely, that Daniel Perry came out with a statement where he sat down he did a video. Did you see this? It just came out yesterday. He did a video recording. And one of the things he says in his video is that his life was threatened. And he had no choice but to do what he did because he was protecting himself and he was protecting the other people on the train. I'm still, who else has corroborated the story that his life was in danger? Because I've not heard one person say that Jordan Neely touched, lunged at, or did anything to anybody. And maybe I'm wrong about this because I know, Mark, you know most of the details. Did we not hear that Daniel Perry approached Jordan Neely from behind? So how are you threatened if you went behind somebody and snuck up on? That's what the reporter said. The reporter, the journalist, the journalist who was there that recorded it said that Daniel Perry saw Jordan Neely yelling and screaming, and that he snuck up on him from behind and grabbed him around his neck, which based upon what we see in the video, that looks about right.
It's consistent.
Well, and you can't put somebody in a lock like that unless you are behind them. But here's the thing. We've not heard that he was threatened, but then we know he was. Why was he threatened? Because he was Black. And people like Daniel Perry are existentially threatened by Black people, just whatever we're doing. And if we're loud, especially we're doing something, or just, there's something too, people have a fear of homeless people. They see homeless people, and they feel like homeless people are going to do something to them, and it's absurd. But I doubt that if Jordan Neely was an unhoused white person, that he would have done it that way or reacted in that way. So, you know, if I'm the prosecutor, I'm going to get into that. Well, what were you, how did he threaten you? What were you afraid of? And then bring out the inherent racism in his perspective, in his lens, to get this BS manslaughter charge. He should be, the charge should be higher. Should not be manslaughter. Because see, you got to break down the amount of time, you know, and all the witnesses covering for him. Because there's a moment in time when he made a decision to put him in that headlock and choke him. Were they in a confrontation? It doesn't manslaughter require something accidental, but what gives you the right to put another human being in a chokehold? Come on, Mike, let's meet him, go down subway day and put somebody in chokehold. We can't do that.
A white man at that.
Yeah, we can't do that. Just, you busy? Tamika, you busy? Let's go put somebody in chokehold. That's just not what you do. You can't just do that and then say manslaughter, which suggests, well, you know, it was a little
Black people can,
and it was an accident. Ain't no accident if I go down and put somebody in a chokehold. And that is a lethal thing. Most people, how many people know how to put somebody in chokehold and kill them? You have to be taught that. I'm saying that I don't know. Y'all tell me right now, go put somebody in chokehold. I wouldn't know how to do it. I see what I see on TV, but I'd mess it up. I don't know. So,
but if you're a Marine, which means you're a part of law enforcement, you know
right.
exactly how to do it.
That's
and
right.
How.
That's a military move. It is a lethal, fatal, and deadly move. And he made a decision at a point to do that. And when he made that decision, that's why it has to be looked at. Is it manslaughter? Is it second degree? It could still be first degree, because the moment you premeditated, you know, I'm going to kill this person. But when did you decide to do that? Is it an accidental manslaughter kind of piece? If just because someone says, I'm hungry and I'm tired, okay, well then, if I kill him, then that's kind of in the realm of it, because that's what people do. When people say they're hungry and tired, they might get killed, so that's common. No, it's not. You made a decision when he said that you were sick and tired of hearing his voice. You were disgusted by the way he looked and that he was Black, and you made a decision in your mind. You premeditated that, went over there and killed him, period.
Sounds like A1 murder to me, but hey.
Who are we? We don't know nothing.
Right. Now we know who we are. We the sisters and the brothers. Yeah. We Black, and we know that there's a different, it's sickening. There's a different standard of justice for us, a different standard of treatment. I was just with Merle Evers. They shot her husband down like he was a dog. And how many years did it take for that killer to be brought to justice? The woman who lied on Emmett Till. I was just in Jackson, Mississippi. The Till family's there. She was able to leave here and die peacefully without ever being charged for that lie she told on Emmett Till. So we know what this is. And that's why, you know, who cares about Donald Trump as a person? But the question becomes, is this one opportunity for the justice system to actually be fair? If Donald Trump gets off, it'll just confirm what we've already known, that it's not fair. And that how many deaths has he caused with his behavior? Yeah. Versus ones we don't even cause, and then we have to answer for ourselves. We're taking a trial, we're convicted, we're locked up, doing serious hard time. Most of us for non-violent crimes. Haven't put our hands on anybody. Folks still serving time for some kind of drug offense or something like that. So that's the problem with this country. That's the double standard. That's why we keep fighting. You know, everywhere you list all places I've been, everywhere I've been, y'all been. So y'all don't act like I'm going these places by myself. We running around, y'all, but still, it's not. I'll say this in closing. If everybody listening to this podcast raised their hand and wanted to take an assignment on an issue affecting our people, there would still be 1 million left over. Mm-hmm. That's how much stuff we face in every way, every day, on every level. And it's impossible for a couple of us to help everybody. That's why if we do stuff right where we are, because some of you listening, stuff going on right in your own community, we don't even know about. And the news ain't even covering. But you do, and you can organize around it. And you know, Black folks used to sing a song in church, right in the corner where you are. Right in the corner where you are. Someone far from harbor, you may help across the bar. Right in the corner where you are. So you can make a difference. And when called, we'll be there to support you. But don't wait on social media. Don't wait on us. Just organize and get into it. And let's get some of our people some more of the freedom that we deserve.
Sounds about right to me.
Great, Mark. You on it. You on point. Thank you very much for joining us today. We needed that update. We didn't want to just talk. We wanted to have somebody on here that know a little bit of something about a sound. That's you. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate you, Reverend Thompson.
Thank you for having me. Blessed to be here with you both. Continue, folks, to support Until Freedom.
Yeah, Mark Thompson of Make It Plain. You got your own show that folks need to support. Tell people how they can catch you, where they can follow you.
MakeItPlain.com. That's the easiest place to go. But wherever you download your podcast, Make It Plain with Reverend Mark Thompson. It's everywhere. You can download it. We just recently posted an interview we did 10 years ago with Merle Evers, where she disclosed that when she and her husband asked for extra security from the NAACP, they denied it. And the NAACP later, 50 years later, apologized for that. And it's a very poignant story that she shares. So folks, yes, please, Make It Plain with Reverend Mark Thompson, wherever you get your podcast, makeitplain.com. And let's get out here and get into it and get involved.
All right. Peace. Thank you, Mark.
Peace, King.
iWoman TV, a digital streaming news and entertainment network featuring stories and content created through a female lens, a place where female content creators can reach a global female audience. With a vast library, iWoman TV showcases original and licensed content centered around the topics and issues that matter most to us. iWoman is not just another women's network, it's a movement. Join me to change the world one woman at a time.
I appreciate whenever we get to have, Mark on the show, because he really, even though he's an activist, he's a thought leader. And I think a lot of times people don't necessarily give him credit, or maybe they just don't know. It's like certain people get all the attention and the whatever, and they just say stupid shit all the time and stuff that don't even matter. And then the people who actually are like out there on the ground, that they get drowned out. It's just very weird. We live in weird times.
We live in trendy times, and that's what it is. And you just got to acknowledge that. And what I realized, that hard work and real work, substantive work, outlasts everything. It's like when you look at certain brands, they don't go nowhere. I don't give a fuck what happens. Polo ain't going nowhere. It might not be the hottest thing for a day, and it might this and that, and other brands come out with some new shit that people wear. Polo's gonna be there. So my thing is to just be Polo and be consistent and be, and have a brand that everybody knows that this is what you get with me, and consistency.
I like that. Just be Polo. Hey, I wouldn't necessarily use Polo out in the world. It's like, I would probably say something like just be tied, or just be, because Polo probably has a history of racism too. Who the hell knows?
I mean,
But the point is so well taken. The point is so well taken because, that Mark would be Polo, right? Like somebody that's been out here consistently for a long time, that has a lot of knowledge, and he's a strategist, so anyway.
Like all else fails, you like, well, who can we get this? You like, well, I know Mark knows. It's like he's saying, yo, I'm going somewhere, then I need to find an outfit. I can't. Well, if I put on a good polo, rugby, I ain't gonna lose. They ain't gonna say there's nothing wrong. Give me a good color to match. Polo rugby, I'm good.
You ain't gonna get laughed at. You ain't gonna,
not gonna get laughed at. Ain't nobody know what's going. But you got polos. There ain't much you can say. And then what happens is every now and then they get into the season where they trendy, where they they come up with something that's even hot. So you never lose with polo. Only thing you can do is win.
That's
it's
right.
a short bet.
That's right. I don't know how the hell we took a turn to Mark and Polo, but
Speaking of a short thing,
yeah.
I don't know if you had the opportunity to see the fight last night. And it was,
I don't know nothing about the fight.
oh my God.
There was a fight after the fight, but I didn't know nothing about a fight was happening until after the fight.
There was so much going on. There was so, my I don't get it, it's so layered. There was a fight between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and John Gotti III.
Wait a minute. Who is Junior?
Floyd Mayweather Jr. Floyd Mayweather is Junior. He is a junior. That's who he is.
Oh, right, because his father and his grandfather. Okay, that's fine. Because I was about to say, wait a minute. So you telling me that, because I thought I was all the way off. If you're, okay. So regular Floyd.
Regular Floyd.
Okay.
Floyd, champ, grand champ. That's why I said, it's a short thing. Floyd gonna win. So, the regular champ was fighting against John Gotti III. Who is John Gotti's son?
The real John Gotti, because I thought it was like a nickname.
No.
Like people like Herb Gotti.
No, it was John Gotti's son, his real one, the third. There was this match that it really heated up around the last couple of days. They've been scheduling it, but I didn't really see the promotion for it until the last few days. It was in Miami. Floyd was doing all type of workouts at the Fountain Blue. He had all type of events at the Fountain Blue. They had the face-off at the Fountain Blue, all types of things. So it was a Miami event. And then it just started picking up, and I started saying, all right, so Floyd fight, let me tune into it. So I'm laying here after a long day. And so the first thing I don't get, right, was the bout was scheduled for 8 rounds. But they stopped it at 6 rounds. Now, for these 6 rounds, John Gotti III did not fight. He probably do 1 or 2 punches. Floyd was just pretty much treating him like a punching bag. It was like an exhibit. I'm like, what is he doing? Is he in here to fight? So what I don't get is, so there was after he was getting beat up every round, he started grabbing Floyd. Floyd was talking to him, because he probably was trying to bait him to fight. Like, fight. You just target practice at this point. You throwing probably 1 or 2 punches around. After the referee told him, hey, it's too much talking and it's too much holding. If it happens again, I'm going to end the fight. So right after that, probably 2 minutes later, it happened again. He ends the fight. At that point, John Gotti III starts going crazy. He starts throwing a bunch of punches. Now, you ain't do nothing. You didn't have this energy the whole fight. The whole fight, you sitting there just getting punched in the face and blocking. Now, when the fight is over, you turn into the Incredible Hulk. You want to start throwing punches. And then you still get punched across the ring. So I don't get why you had this energy after the fight was over, but you didn't have that energy during the fight. It's like if you would have had that energy during the fight, you probably more than likely you would have still got beat up. But it would have been a fight. At least it would have looked like you was standing out there. Now you raging bull. So everybody comes on the stage. It's mayhem. It's a melee. They back him into the corner because now he done swung on Floyd. Now everybody from Floyd's camp, like you see, they all on the stage. Dudes I know, people we know, they just running on the stage like big dudes coming. They got them back into a corner. So at some point, the guy gets on the stage, it turns into
These
another.
are the TMT people.
Yep, the whole TMT team.
Right. And that was because at some point, non-boxing match related, the Gotti the Gotti dude tried to attack Floyd like on a different energy.
Yeah, he just ran because the fight was over. So Floyd standing there, he just running, charging them, going crazy at that point. So now they like, no, this ain't boxing no more. This match is over. You taking this somewhere else. So now, you know, people running on the stage, you know, to get involved. At that point, for about a good 30 minutes,
they don't have the police or the security.
The security was not, it was nothing they could do. It was out of control. Like I'm telling you, it's complete mayhem. So I'm watching this on TV for 30 minutes straight. It's people you
on TV. No.
Huh?
It was on the television?
Yes.
Oh.
The camera did not turn off. They showed everybody. You see people on the sideline. You see, it just was, you can hear people scream. You could tell that there was a lot going on, not just on the stage. And then his trainer was getting into it with the other people. So that turned into a thing back and forth with them. So my second, so then it gets backstage and someone that I didn't know, allegedly it was Jocelyn Hernandez. I just see this woman whooping everybody's ass. Like, I mean, she throwing blows, she wrestling, she kicking. They done broke her up 4 or 5 times. She still. So what I want to do is I want to give a lot of props to a lot of the men that were there. Because I watched it's this one dude, I hope we show the clip, I'm gonna find it. But it was this one white man, I think he was a security guard, and she slapped this man 4 times in his face, clean.
And
he didn't lift his hand to harm her. He didn't retaliate. He didn't block. He took the thing and just shielded her from going where she was trying to go. Smack this.
Put her in jail.
Oh right. Yeah, I heard she went in jail. So
that's what happens.
So after the big melee with Jocelyn, whatever that goes on. So my second, I don't get it, right?
You can't have like 3 out of it.
I'm trying to tell you, it's layered because it's too much. Today I wake up, and who I believe to be is John Gotti's daughter or granddaughter, I don't know, can't confirm nor deny.
His daughter.
She threatens Floyd's daughter, right? Not only does she threaten Floyd's daughter, who has nothing to do with none of this.
Floyd's daughter at the event?
She was at the event, but she wasn't on no stage. She had her son. She literally had her baby. Floyd came out with his grandson. The first time people actually had a picture of physically seeing his grandson. He came out, walked to the stage with his grandson. So his daughter's there with a grandson. This lady decides to go onto social media, threaten the daughter, calling them zoo animals. And I'm trying to figure out, what did that have to do with anything? You know, like, where did this underlying racism of, you know, the zoo animals, she had a baby with an animal and they all zoo animals. And, you know, and it was really sad because now it turns into something else. You know, that those were 2 people who got into a situation. There were 2 camps, this and that. Now you got this racially motivated, because I see a bunch of Black people like, yo, this ain't going down like that. Like, I don't know what the fuck you calling zoo animals and this and that. And now it turns into a racial thing that didn't happen. So I don't get what she thought she was doing with that. I don't even get how you thought you was even getting involved with that girl. She had nothing to do with it.
I thought that, well, but you don't never know what was said or behind the scenes, but regardless, I thought that one Gotti was a nickname.
No.
I didn't even know that the Gotti family still was doing anything. So this, you know, I recognize that I, Tamika Mallory, am not in I don't even know what's going on. So I get it. But that's what I thought. So that's first. Second of all, I thought that these people were, which still would have been bad, but I thought they were like Latinx folks, Latinos, who were using the Gotti as like, you know, I'm John Gotti, like, you know, I'm a killer, like type of thing. So I asked the question on Shade Room because I really seriously wanted to know, is the woman white? Because I see the woman, she looks like she's white, but of course we know a lot of Latinos that they can pass, they're white passing. So I asked the question, and within seconds, there are hundreds of people like, yes, that she is white as snow and Italian. And this is, really a John Gotti family member. And I'm like, oh, this is really like not okay. Like, you can't just call people zoo animals. That shit is bad.
Definitely call black people. You can't call black people no zoo animals.
No, did she take it down, or you don't know?
I have no idea. I haven't been, I just seen.
Follow her. You wouldn't know how to find her if you tried.
It's unfortunate, man. Shout out to Floyd for, he went out there and showed why he's, arguably the greatest boxer that ever lived. He went out there and treated this man like what he was. He was an amateur.
That's what I don't get. Like, did you think you were gonna win the fight?
Yeah, but the thing is, I would think that you gonna fight.
No, something else happened. Something else happened. It's gonna come out. I promise you. Is there some more details here that have been left out of the public discourse?
What's left out is this, right? Floyd, I think what happens is this. Floyd is tired. He thinks that it's really sad that, and the guy is an MMA fighter. It's the second boxing match. And, he feels like people disrespect the sport of boxing. You got these YouTube boxers, you got people that just think they're gonna come from MMA and they're gonna fight him and get in the ring. And if I can make 50 or 60 million to beat you up and humiliate you, then I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna do it. While I do it, I'm gonna show you the skill set that it takes to be where I'm at. And I'm gonna beat you up and embarrass you for even wanting to challenge me. But thinking that you're in the realm that you could get on live TV and challenge somebody like me who has established something. It's actually disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the mind frame that Floyd is coming from at this point. So y'all got enough money, y'all gonna scream Gotti, Gotti, and he kept, he was hounding him, going, Gotti, every round, like, yeah, scream Gotti. Because it's like, what the fuck y'all think? Y'all think I became the best? I've been fighting my whole life since I was 10, 11 years old to let a nigga that just decide he gonna wake up tomorrow, come in here and beat me? Like, why would you even think that? And I think that is disrespectful to him. So that's what the issue.
What is the boxing commission called? The boxing commission?
Yeah, but this is not even part of sanction. These are what you call exhibitions,
So somebody is over the exhibitions.
The exhibition, but it doesn't count in just the ranking of the real boxing commission. So there are certain elements that you don't have to adhere to be involved in these matches.
So where's the fallout going to come from? Like, who has to respond to this?
Fallout is the people the Zeus network. I heard that they're suing the network.
Yes, them the same people that carry Blueface and that poor Chris.
Yeah, and they was performing.
That's a black man.
Blueface and them opening up. Him and
a black man owns that network. FYI.
They got to do better. And the thing is this, for me, it's just like,
I don't know if you can blame them.
No, but it's not so much that you can blame them. I think what happens is this. When you utilize and you try to profit off the least and the bottom of the culture, right? When you don't give a fuck, understand that where Krishan and Blueface are right now, like, that's not some shit that you even should want to expose. So the fact that you would put them on the same stage the same night, you're looking for some level of controversy. People are tuning in because they're like, oh, I know they don't even fuck with each other. They've been back and forth. He's been disrespecting her, this and that. Maybe the baby mama is there. Maybe there turns it. You're hoping that there's a level of some type of controversy that's supposed to people to pay attention. Because, you're looking for that energy, right? So just like when you bring Jocelyn, Jocelyn has been banned from every TV show they got. Just think about it. She's been banned from every Love and Hip Hop band to the other show that she just had. They got the other fight, the College Hill, they banned. She's been banned from networks. Whole networks is like, nah, we're not fucking with her at all. And you decide that you're gonna say, you know what? That's exactly what we want. We want the person that's so uncontrollable that people want to see it. And that means that you don't have really any standards. So now when she goes there and she acts like motherfucking Rambo and she's beating up everybody and jumping around, Now they're gonna sue her and they're gonna sue you.
They
You know,
might sue everybody. And all of them might
everybody.
happen. But I will tell you what my final word is. They put her ass in jail today. So
Yeah, they
people
put her in
can
jail last night.
monkey all you want, but your ass is going to jail.
Yeah, they're gonna put her in jail, man. So once again, shout out to Floyd and I just think that we as a people.
And was Shabazz there? Ain't that our
Shout
friend?
out to Baz.
Of course, Shabazz is our friend, but ain't he with TMT?
Yeah, Baz was there, man. Shout out to Baz, another one, good brother. He was respectful. I seen and made sure he didn't get into no melee. He could have, but
This is a lot.
it's a lot, man. Shout out to my man PT. I see all of Floyd's people there. But
I know him too, right? Mhm.
you know,
This is, I mean, I am like, huh? I woke up and started scrolling, and the shade room had a whole bunch of, they be ready to put anything bad that happens.
that's what this culture
Find the blogs telling you all about it.
culture cannot wait to expose the bottom of the shit that we dealing with, man. And it's unfortunately, that's who we are, man. And with that, we come to the end of another episode. Shout out to the good Reverend Dr. Mark Thompson for his expertise in everything. We call Mark for everything because he pretty much knows all of the stuff. So shout out to him. And shout out to you for always supporting us, making us the number one podcast in the world. We're gonna be adding some new things to Street Politicians. We got some new stuff we're gonna run by y'all. So I want y'all to pay attention as we revamp and make it the greatest podcast ever. It's number one, but we talking about the greatest podcast ever is about to come. So we want to say thank y'all for that. Tamika, once again, all month is your birthday, so continue your birthday.
Until the cancers start. Once the cancers come in,
the cancers start, y'all done.
Close out Gemini.
That's how the Taurus feel about the Geminis. We do us until y'all come. So continue to celebrate, and we love y'all, man. Once again, I'm not gonna always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not gonna always be wrong, but we both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
Listen to Street Politicians on the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio.
And catch us every single Wednesday for the video version of Street Politicians on iWomen.tv.